All right, so there you have it. So much happening around payments, around fintech in Nigeria today. We also have rules by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and we're going to get to that later on the show when it comes to data, financial data in Nigeria. All right, to our first conversation now. Yes, let's look at Nigeria's agricultural sector. It remains a critical economic growth for food security and job creation at this point. We see, agriculture still employs workers right here in Nigeria, yet access to affordable financing, that continues to be a problem for this sector, with interest rates right now still at double digits in Nigeria, even though we've seen a rate cut at some point by the MPC, but it's still a high interest environment. And definitely we also have the Bank of Agriculture there, trying to also help out, when it comes to getting affordable credit. That's for the farmers, and definitely that will transcend into lower food costs and hopefully lower food inflation. That's for the country. All right, let's unpack what's played out so far. We have Mr. Ayo Shoturina, the Managing Director, Bank of Agriculture. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Great to have you, sir. Happy Father's Day at this point. Thank you to all the men out there. Great to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. So, yes, we recently, the Bank of Agriculture did get recapitalized by the federal government to the tune of about 1.5 trillion naira. And, definitely we've been talking a lot about recapitalization so far for that's commercial banks at this point. But the Bank of Agriculture did get recapitalized too. So what's happened since then for the Bank of Agriculture, since the recapitalization?
Thank you very much. What has happened since I started, which is the most important thing, this administration of President BoA Tinubu, GCFR, is a complete rehabilitation overhaul of the agricultural financing in Nigeria, starting with putting together, a roadmap, a 5-year strategic plan to actually finance about 2 million farmers, first phase, and it sort of cascades all the way. As you know, 70% of Nigerians are actually in the agriculture sector, and they make up I think the largest, I'd say, jobs in Nigeria. So for us, we've taken, our role as one very important to the sector, how we provide the right type of financing to the agriculture sector. It's not just cost of capital, but also access to capital, which we're trying to solve. Currently, through the Renewed Hope Smallholder Farmer Financing Program, we're financing about 2 million farmers, like I said initially. We're starting now with just under 500,000 farmers for this season. As you know, you have, different climatic conditions in different states. And we believe that, the first phase, which is first entering into the market, we will be providing financing to these farmers. When I say financing to the farmers, we're talking about input financing, better seeds. So we brought seeds that can yield up to 5 to 10 tons per hectare because we believe increasing productivity is the most important thing for the sector. We're also making sure that the farmers get the right blend of fertilizer. I think for the 482,000 farmers, we're distributing about 1.8 million to 1.9 million tons, 1.9 million bags of fertilizer to them, and they're comprised of, different blends of the NPKs and also urea. We also focused on providing, proper extension services to the farmers, ensuring that we move them from, our great-grandfathers' agronomic practices to using modern technology. But everything is underpinned around technology. It's a case of, how have we taken the bank from, the legacy system we used to have, and how have we digitized the entire operations of the bank to what we have currently. We've done that by, setting up core banking system. We've done all the, certifications, applications possible, onboarded on NIBS and IPS. Currently, we have bank accounts for each and every farmer that can be opened in 3 to 4 or 5 minutes on the internet or in one of our bank branches. I think we have about 110 branches. We've also ensured that they just don't get cards, but they also have a wallet system where when they're redeeming the inputs, it gets debited from their wallet system overlaid on their bank account, and we're able to track from input collection all the way to harvest, through technology. So these are all the innovations that, Mr. President has brought into the agriculture sector. And if you think about it, we normally would farm 5 million tons, 5 million hectares of land across the entire country, and we barely get up to 6 million tons of food. Now, because of the improved seeds and the agronomy practices that we're helping the farmers with through extension service workers, if we're able to do 5 tons each on the average, some will do 8, some will do 9 tons, that's 25 million tons of additional food that the Bank of Agriculture will be able to, finance through the farmers. So it's about focusing on increasing productivity, not necessarily just, have you been recapitalized? What are you doing? And as you know, Mr. President didn't stop there. We also have a system where we now off-take everything every farmer produces, and I make bold to say that we have funds to off-take everything the farmer produces, because now, due to the import parity, we're now giving a guaranteed minimum price to most farmers. Farmers can tell you we're on the field now buying up all the grains they found from last harvest, where we're giving them, 350,000 naira instead of the 250, 280,000 they get in the market for maize, for example. So these are all the things that we're doing to ameliorate all the sufferings of the farmer. And we're trying to move them from, smaller farmers to MSMEs, from MSMEs to SMEs. So we are very determined to find a way to work with, partners, both partners on ground in Nigeria and also international partners to deepen, investment in the agriculture sector and also finance it within the sector. Thank you.
Okay. So definitely, recapitalization and, what you've been doing so far to help some of these farmers. But looking at food inflation for the previous month, 16.96%. You see Adamawa State recorded the highest food inflation rate at 29.62%. So with recapitalization for the Bank of Agriculture and what you said you've done so far for some of these farmers, when will we start to see that reflect on food inflation, getting it down to about single digits?
Correct. You already feeling the right policies and the right environment. Food inflation was 38% as of 2023 when this administration came on board.
Then
now,
after rebasing,
is down to 17%. It will further go down because of the low interest rate that we are giving the farmers at. Currently, MPR says 26.5%. We are borrowing many basis points below MPR. We're still doing single digits, facility to our farmers. It means that will translate across board. I just told you that we're financing 2 million farmers for phase 1 and phase 2, starting with 500,000 farmers that we've already distributed input to. We don't believe in making noise. We believe in, the results speaking for itself. Now, the most important thing is not just giving the farmers, the right input. It's also worrying about everything along the value chain. As you know, 2,000 tractors were bought from Belarus, I think about a year ago. And I can categorically tell you today that we have over 1,200 of those tractors mechanizing, land in about, I think, 22 states currently. And more is still going out. We also have plans to do large-scale commercial agriculture, with the river basins and also with the universities, because the universities have, enough land to actually have a catchment where you can do in-grow and outgrow schemes. Some of them are having water bodies. For example, Abuja University has about 14,000 hectares. AB Zaria has about, I think, 23,000 hectares. So for us, we want to use that to also support the agriculture programs in the system, because, as you know, it's not about just farming. It's about, thought leadership within the sector. And this is what we are trying to encourage even the universities to do, where we have, the next FMCG, moguls, Alikos of this world and BoAs of this world come out from, the graduates of this university, teaching them from, from the cradle. So these are sort of the things that we are looking to do. But back to your question about inflation. I'm not going to be able to tell you a figure because we can't simulate, what the results will be. But you can expect single digit inflation by end of this farming season. Farming season will probably end around September and October, and I believe we would have more than enough food, and we will be able to export using the after opportunity to our neighboring countries, focusing on intra-Africa trade before we start to look at inter-Africa trade as well.
Yeah, definitely be great to see that for the data, single-digit food inflation, and hopefully we actually feel it when we go to the market. So, but, for farmers out there, watching us right now and wondering, how do I access, some of the credit from the Bank of Agriculture? What would you say to them?
So what I would say to them is for them to, reach out to branches. As I said, we have 110, bank branches across the country, giving us the closest proximity to all the farmers. But most importantly, we're not giving microcredits again to farmers, unfortunately. We've designed a new system that works, where we have, farm aggregation companies that have been vetted by us. And then we put out a call for application. We received about 650 applications. We shortlisted them to just 20 of our best. And the plan is to grow, this farm aggregation companies from the ones that are tier 4 to grow them to tier 3, tier 2 to tier 1. And, the tier 1 guys become, the biggest guys in the market. And what they do for us is they aggregate these farmers based on their own, I would say, geographical spread. And they provide these input services to them, not just inputs, but also M&E, agronomy, support. And we're also building hubs across the entire country where it's a one-stop shop for every farmer. You can get, tractorization services. You can get, irrigation as a service there. You can buy your inputs there. There's going to be a Bank of Agriculture, agents there who can also help you with, payment services and banking services. Because we want to grow from not just conventional, giving farmer financing to also helping them with other things, crop index insurance, even health insurance for the farmers, because a healthy farmer, is the dream of the society. So for us, we have, many programs across board, and we're not neglecting the fact there are also some, I'd say, vulnerable within the society. We're focused on, youth programs massively. We're focused on big women program, and lastly, internally displaced persons across, the northeast part of Nigeria, where we have, the fragility in the country. So these are sort of the initiatives that we are bringing on board, amongst many others. There are so many that we'd like to share with you. We're working with poultry farmers. I think we're financing about 100,000 poultry farmers. We've just done a massive, ginger revival program, starting with Kaduna, where we're giving 3,500 farmers, disease-free seeds. We're going to be aggregating about 909,000 tons from them. And we plan to take this into tissue culture labs to create disease-free ginger seeds, about 120 million seeds, because we want to move ginger production from 3 states, about 22 states in country. So for us, we prioritize, even though we're a bank, we're a development bank, we prioritize impact before, profit. So we look at, sectors that are in, in a dire strait, and we try to intervene appropriately. So it's not just about financing farmers to maximize returns, it's about creating impact and reviving a sector that gives us, the most, I would say, revenue, non-oil exports, like ginger, for example, which was the third largest non-oil export in 2023 before, the blight happened. So, we are very optimistic. We work 18-hour days to ensure that, we try to touch each and every farmer. It's not going to be easy. There's 70 million farmers in Nigeria, according to statistics by FAO and the World Bank. However, we're limited in terms of, the numbers that we can reach. So for us, we see ourselves as catalytic. We catalyze, investments. We catalyze intervention and programs in the sector, in the agriculture sector. Thank you.
All right. So thank you so much. Definitely, we hope at some point that we see all of this in the data when it comes to food inflation, and hopefully the farmers get most of these cheap credit. Thank you so much, Mr. Ayo Shotun is the MD CEO of Bank of Agriculture. This is a continuing conversation. We'll definitely have it another time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate you.